Hello, today's practice is a 15-minute stretch, suitable for all bodies. And if you don't really feel like doing an intense yoga practice or intense keep fit practice, stretching is the way forward. I'm going to start with the upper body and then we'll move down to the lower body. But first we'll start into the neck. Have a lot of tension in the neck, so let's start with the neck. Take a long deep inhale and an exhale. Inhale and exhale over to your right shoulder. Just have a nice stretch at the side of the neck. Back to the center, take an inhale and exhale over to the left. Inhale back to the center, take an exhale, and then inhale, lift your gaze up and stretch the front of the neck. Take an inhale and exhale, take a nice bow and stretch the back of your neck. And then come back to neutral. We're just going to take your left arm all the way up. Take a long deep inhale and exhale. Just have a nice stretch at the side of the waist. Inhale all the way back up. Take an exhale. Inhale, lift. And exhale over. Inhale back to the center. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lift. Exhale, slide over. Go a little bit more in your stretch. Coming back to the center. Lift and slide over a little bit more and stretch. So I'm hoping you're already feeling much, much better. Inhale, lift up and exhale down. Interlock your fingers, turn the palms away, inhale all the way up, and exhale down. Let's do two more. Inhale up, and exhale down. And the last one, inhale up, and exhale down. Bring your arms nice and parallel to the body. Take an inhale and an exhale. Inhale the elbows together and exhale, open the chest and stretch over the chest. Take an inhale, exhale, two more, inhale, open, expand the chest, exhale, inhale, open, expanding the chest and exhale. And then bring the hands down onto your knees. So we're just going to come onto all fours. We're going to go into the spine now. So coming into all fours, have your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And as we lift up the gaze, we lift up the buttocks and we have a little back bend going on here. And then on the exhale, rounding your back, gazing to your navel, have a back stretch. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, stretching. Let's do two more. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, stretching. And one more. And exhale. Coming back to your neutral position. Take one elbow down. Take the other elbow down, but keep your buttocks high in the air. We're going to go for a shoulder stretch now. So walk your hands forward and bring your forehead down to the mat or to a block or a book that you may have handy and stretch into the shoulders. Take a long, deep inhale. And exhale, walk the fingertips a little bit further away. And then we're walking the hands back to enable us to bring the buttocks down to the heels and have a nice child posture stretch. We're coming up into all fours. We continue in the shoulders, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. The right arm goes up, And we thread it through the left and lay the head down to the mat. And then we rise up and the opposite arm goes up and we thread it through and lay the head down. And then slowly come back into our neutral position. So we're going to tuck the left toe under and stretch the right leg long. So having a nice hamstring stretch here, nice easy breathing. And then we'll change sides. So right toe is tucked, left leg is stretching, hamstring stretch. And then we'll change sides again, hamstrings. And again, change. And then come back to neutral. So there are options. We're going to go into the abdominals a little bit, but there are options. And we leave the left toe tucked and the right leg stretches away. Now, if you have any weakness in the arms, maybe keep both hands onto the mat. Going into the abdominals and lift up that right leg. I'm not going to lift it up too high. And then we're going to take the opposite arm forward if your arms are happy to do this. So take the left hand off the mat, push the back heel away, and lengthen and stretch through the sides of the waist and engage the abdominals. Remember, both hands can be on the mat. And then change sides. We lengthen, we lift, and we stretch. Nice easy breathing. Couple more breaths. And then release down. Let's take that child posture again. Just relax into child posture. And from our child posture, we're going to take a downward facing dog stretch. The super long arms. Don't move your hands once the arms are super long. Just come onto your knees. Tuck your toes. Lift your knees up the mat and move your hips back. We're in downward facing dog. So the hamstrings haven't had too much of a warm up. So let's warm them up a little bit more. Let's walk the dog. Right leg, left leg, just walking the dog. Stretching the calves, the Achilles, the back of the thighs. Just really enjoying this movement. Maybe move your hips around as well. And then we'll come back to classic downward facing dog. All a bit too much, then pop your knees onto the mat and just move the hips back a little bit and take the pressure out of those wrists. Have a half dog or your downward facing dog. Nice easy breathing. I'm going to bring the knees to the mat. Bring the elbows to the mat. And then we're going to stretch the legs away from us, coming onto our tummies. So we're now in a posture called sphinx. So we have a nice back bend going on here. So you're going to lift up your chest and just keep your gaze at the top of your mat. So feel that nice back bend that's happening now. Nice easy breathing. And some of you may want to go into the abdominals again, or some of you may just want to stay with the back bend. So we're going to have a forearm plank if you want to. So tuck your toes. I'll give you the modified version first of all. Tuck your toes, lift up and push back. Then bring your knees down and just cross your ankles. So we really can engage the abdominals even in this posture, but it's less pressure. You're coming to the full forearm plank, tuck, lift, push back. Really feel what's happening at the sides of the waist as well. And then we'll release down. Untuck your toes and bring your forehead onto your hands. Turn your gaze one way. And turn your gaze the other way. And then come back to your neutral. So we're going to let the back do a little bit of work. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders, elbows in. Keep those elbows tucked in. We don't want them splaying out. You may want to watch this first. Going to inhale, lift up, take an exhale. And then release down. So we're not lifting up very high at all. We're going to let the back do some work on its own. So inhale, lift, take an exhale, and then lift the hands just half an inch off the mat. You'll start to feel the back really starting to do some work all on its own. You don't need to lift up high. And then release down again. I'm going to do one more time. Then lift up a little bit. Shoulders draw back. And then take the hands off the mat. Keep looking at the mat. Start to be aware of the back doing all of this work on its own. And then bring your hands underneath your forehead and settle here. Now slide one leg all the way up towards the direction of the elbow and look in that direction. And then slide it back and change sides, so slide the opposite leg up and gaze in that direction. And then slide it back, hands underneath the shoulders. We rise up through a cobra back bend, onto the knees, and all the way back into our child posture. So coming back now, onto all fours. You're going to take your right foot forward, knee tracking over the ankle, and have a nice stretch here. So perhaps tuck the back toe and walk it a little bit further away from you. Your options are to stay here. Great stretch of the hip flexors. A deeper option would be to walk the foot out to the side of the mat, and the same arm, bring it inside, and then drop a little bit further down. So you can have cushions. Let's make your journey a little bit easier. You can have cushions and come down. So take whichever option you want. You can stay high. You can take that arm inside, go a little bit lower. You can bring the elbows down. You can have the cushions. One more breath. And then slowly we'll rise up. Bring that foot back in again and back to kneeling. Opposite foot. Have the cushion handy if you need it. Left foot comes forward. Back toe tucks, walk it away a little bit. Here are your options. You're staying here. Or you're walking the foot to the side of the mat and bringing the same arm inside. And you're staying here. Or you have the cushion and you lower a little bit more. Or you don't have the cushion and you lay up a little bit more. So each one is a great posture for you. Don't matter which one you're doing, we're still stretching. And then slowly we'll come back all the way back into those all fours. You can also have cushions underneath your knees if your knees are a little bit bent. Okay, right foot forward. Take an inhale and exhale the hips back. Take a bow. Hamstrings. Take the knee to neutral and then let it travel forward. Hips. Lift up your hearts. All the way back into your hamstrings. Travel forward. Lift up your hearts. Hips. And then come back to neutral. Change sides. Left foot. Take an inhale. Exhale, hamstrings. Inhale, neutral. Lift the heart. Exhale, let that knee travel forward. Hips. Back to the center. Hamstrings. Back to the center. And your hips. Lifting up your hearts. And then come back to the center. And we're just going to lay down on our mats now. So just laying down on our mats. We've nearly completed our 15 minutes. Just going to go into those hips again. So feet are flat. Back is settled. Right leg rising. Ankle over left knee. Option 1 is you're staying here. Option 2, you've created the triangle, right hand through, left hand behind that left knee, and we draw in. Breathe. Couple more breaths. And then we change sides. So feet flat, left leg lifts, cross the knee for your first option. Your second option, through the triangle and lift, and draw in. Breathe. And we'll finish the practice with just a nice spinal twist. So stretch your left leg long, take hold of your right knee, draw it in to your chest, and then drag it over the body to the left, and gaze to your right. And then changing sides, both knees into the chest, little roll around, feet flat, right leg long, left knee into the chest, squeeze it, right hand on that knee, and we drag it over to the right, and we gaze in the opposite direction to the knees. And then slowly we come back to the center, taking both knees into the chest, have a little roll around, and then place your feet flat onto the mat. You've had your 15 minutes of stretching. I do hope you feel good. Please feel free to stay here for a little longer if you wish to.